that's your full name? I said, yeah. You know, I'm sitting there and they're talking amongst each other, and they come in, and the captain comes in, and they leave, and he comes back, and they thought they got him on the lam on an escape because we had the same name. So they came in to check the birthday 4 or 5 times. I said, do I look like I'm 40?
Hi, I'm Larry Lawton, America's biggest jewel thief. Join me as I walk you through my past robberies, how I planned them, executed them, and ultimately got caught. I'm going to show you how we did things in prison, like making a tattoo gun, making wine, making white lightning. It's going to be very educational. These are the untold stories.
Hey everybody, we're back. I told you what I was going to do. A lot of requests we were getting was, hey, after the book, are you going to interview people in the book? What are you going to do? Well, obviously I said yes in my first interview. Look, my son's being all serious. This is my son, Larry Jr. Larry helps me with Instagram. He helps me with the business. The best part of what I'm doing with you guys, and you guys want me to keep going, is I'm working with my son. I'm working with my son and hopefully someday my daughter as well. But it's a lot of fun. You know, we talk every day. We FaceTime. The pictures he has are from when I sent them out of prison to him when he was a kid. My son was 6 years old when I went to prison. When I got out, he was 18 years old. And that rips my heart out every day. But we're back. We're working together. We're having fun. I come into New York. He has 2 children. And then my grandkids, Larry the third. We have a Lawrence Robert Lawton the third. My son is Lawrence Robert Lawton Jr. I'm the Lawrence Lawton. So this is a lot of fun, everybody. I thought I'd interview. A lot of people have been asking me. So I'm going to ask them questions. We're going to get into this interview from the book and from what we're doing today. And obviously a lot of people have been asking about this. So this should be fun. Hey, La, I love you. And I'm so glad you're doing this. You love it too. I know that. You're having fun doing this whole thing. How did you feel when I was away? I mean, I know we talked a little bit, but give me a little bit more deeper, or give the people looking how it is. Because there are people out there who have lost their dads to prison. I get a lot of emails like that. And I don't want them to ever give up on their dad, because I don't think you ever gave up on me. And, I tell the one story in the book about you riding your bicycle up in front of the gangster bar here in Brooklyn and getting money from the old timers, because I was a stand-up guy. What was it like growing up without me, like there? And be honest with these people.
Well, I mean, for the most part, I grew up a little differently. In the neighborhood, I had friends who had family that was connected, and, everyone had an uncle who was away or a grandfather who was away, so...
What he means by away, everybody's in jail.
In jail, yeah. So, I was used to having friends who had family away, so it wasn't, I wouldn't say the ordinary, but it
you
wasn't
weren't alone.
So right, yeah. You raised me pretty well over the phone.
It's kind of funny because when he was young, he got in trouble.
Right.
My son wasn't a perfect young kid, and he got in trouble, and boy, his mother... with hair. When he got in trouble, she'd call me, and I'd call on the phone, and she'd say, "That's your son!" And I'd laugh, and I'd say, "Oh, yeah, it is." I'll give you a quick story about my son, and I get a kick out of it to this day. He'll probably maybe remember it. He went to St. Bernadette's grammar school. It's a private school in Bensonhurst, a Bay Ridge area of Brooklyn. And he was going there, and he steals cars, little toy car. You remember this now.
Put him in my pants.
He put him in his elastic pants to bring him home from school. So he gets caught. The teachers get caught, and he wouldn't tell. He said, "My dad told me I'm never supposed to tell. You don't rat." And it's kind of funny because his mother said, "What are you teaching? I want to know. He won't tell me." And I remember in prison hearing that story, and I go, "Man, that's my son. That's my son." I taught him, at least, you don't tell. I mean, you just don't tell, and that's what we grew up. Do you remember that now?
Yeah. Kindergarten, Miss Kennedy's class.
And Miss Kennedy. And what did they do to you? Do you remember?
That I don't remember, but I know I definitely got in trouble.
Because you wouldn't tell.
I think I might have told them I don't have them in my legs. They made me jingle them. You heard them. I said, I still don't have anything in
That was, when I was in prison, I got off the phone, and that was the big times of our lives in prison. we'd get a phone, or we'd make a phone call, and you couldn't call all the time. You only had so many minutes a month you can use. And when we did that, it was like the biggest deal in the world. Like, hey, you'd get off the phone, you're happy. And I told that story to everyone. We're drinking hooch in prison and making the prison pasta, which we're doing a show on it. And I'd say, yeah, you got to hear what my son did. We're all laughing and saying, it looks like his old man, you know. And I got the biggest kick out of that. But obviously you got in trouble too. You ran from the cops on mini bikes and motorbikes and stuff like that. Graffiti, I remember that one, hearing about it from your mom. And but you know, everybody changes. Even my son, we all make mistakes. We grow up. You get through a certain stage in your life, and he was approximately, I guess, 24, maybe even, by the time you really started thinking about the choices you're making and stuff like that.
Probably when I had my son, I'd say.
Oh yeah, and that's even 27.
Yeah.
And
by that time I was way, I know now it's.
You were more together.
Yeah.
I was out of prison then. I remember the first time I connected with my son, and it was like, I mean, I honestly could say I didn't know what to say. It's not like you know what to say, but you're so excited. And, you know, there's nothing like having your own kid, obviously, anybody who has kids, and your own blood. And then knowing he's really like you. And my son is. He's a hustler. He always was a hustler. And he's a hard worker. He's not lazy. I love that about him. He reminds me of me when I was younger. Thank God he doesn't remind me totally of me, because I was pretty much a psychopath. What did you hear about me when I was in? Did you ever hear anything?
No, I was pretty much closed up. That I remember one time I was going through one of the closets in the kitchen, and Mommy had a few of my knives that I had that she took away, and I found the wanted poster from when they had put it out on You. So I tried to ask a few questions and was shooed away, but I was always told that you were away on business.
Oh, from when you were young?
When I was younger, and I was always told that one day you'll understand. But I always knew that when you went away, I figured you weren't away on business. For how long are you really away for? But I knew you did the right thing. I was told one day you'll understand. One day. When I used to drive by the bar, like you said, on the bikes, everyone said, your old man's a stand-up guy, you'll understand. One day you'll know the story. One day you'll know what happened. When I was young, I didn't realize what that meant. I was 7, 8, 9 years old, riding on my bike. Yeah, great, thanks. Give me the 20,
See, he's awesome.
I knew to drive by the bar, and they'd say, oh, that's Larry's kid. Oh, yeah, come here. Here's a 5, here's a 10.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that when your mom told me that. If I ever caught him down, and I knew he was doing it. And one time I heard from somebody, and I said, hey, we saw your son. That's what happened to me. And it was kind of like made me laugh. And I always think about what he was doing out there, and I felt for his mom a lot, both of my kids' moms, that they had to raise their kids, I always took care of them when I was out, but now I'm away, and I don't have money. I don't have anything. And I got to give props to my both ex-wives and his mom, never talked negative about me. And is that true?
Right,
always.
yeah, always positive.
Never, like, oh, your father's a piece of garbage, he's in prison or anything. Never. To this day, we're friends, and I like that. Obviously she'll say, that's your son when he's bad or something like that. We'd laugh about stuff like that. But I was really happy about the way, and I knew he had a solid foundation with his grandfather, who I'm still close with today, and his uncles and everybody. And both sides of the family, they always, there was never negative. Nobody talked down about, oh, Larry was a bad guy. Because when I was out, I was a criminal, and I was a bad guy criminal, and you didn't want to run across me in that kind of way. But I was also a good guy. I'd help people out, I'd give them money, throw parties. Do you remember when you were young and I used to throw the big bashes?
Yeah,
in Florida.
I remember I got my clothes wet, and I had to be 5, and I would change.
You were 6. It was the year I went away. I remember that.
I would always change outfits at the parties. I'd have a Yankee shirt on. I'd go up. I put a Mets
Let me
shirt
stop
on.
everybody in the parties. Every year I used to throw a 4th of July block party. Maybe the book has that in it. And I threw a massive party, 1,000 hot dogs, 1,000 hamburgers, 10 kegs of beer, 40 cases of soda, ears of corn, bands, dunk tanks, car shows, Barney the dinosaur, and clowns painting faces. I did this for the whole community for nothing. It was one of those things I did every year. They called it Larry's 4th of July block party. Now, that's the party he's talking about, so tell him what happened.
So we had the dunk tank that one year, and I got a really bad ear infection from that. That's besides the point, but
no, I remember I got yelled at by your mother on that one. Yeah,
clothes were soaking wet, so I went upstairs to change, and I guess I didn't realize everyone was looking. I was in the window naked.
Yep, everybody
on
to
the
this
second
day.
floor naked, 6-year-old, and everyone. I guess I just remember seeing one person look up, and then I just saw 500 people look up, and I was like,
We were all laughing. He was up there. He was a little kid. And he was in the dunk tank like it was a pool. Now, he comes from Brooklyn, so they don't have that kind of stuff here. He's literally in the dunk tank like a pool. And he ends up getting infected because the dirty water who's in it, all the crap. I get yelled at by his mother because she used to let me take him. She was really good. We weren't together, and she used to let my son come down to Florida. And he would come with his cousin, who actually passed since, who was killed. And I talked about him being killed in a drug game, shot in the head in Philly, and that's sad. And he remembers him very well. Yeah. And he during this block party, there would be 500 to 1,000 people there. Fire trucks, the mayors, you name it, we're all there. And we all look up, and here's my son changing, and we're laughing. The whole place is cracking up laughing. So, I mean, those were the memories I lived on when I was in prison, actually. I mean, I used to look back and smile. People would always ask, how'd you survive prison? And a lot had to do with the positive memories of my son and talking to him. See, in prison, you can't just pick up a phone and call. You have to put money on a phone, and you only get 300 minutes a month. Think about that. That's not a lot of time when you want to call a person. 300 minutes flies by. I've seen guys burn through their minutes in 3 or 4 days, and now you can't call after that. You're shut out until your minutes renew at the end of the next, beginning of the next month. So I always save time to call my son and my daughter. And it's funny, and he'll tell you this, I used to give them homework in the mail. Do you remember that? Getting stuff in the mail and stuff? I wrote letters all the time, and they knew when I was in the hole.
oh, pencil. Letters came in pencil instead of pen.
And he knew right away his pop was in the hole. And what did you and your friends talk? Did you just talk about, at what age did you start? Because I know, and I call one of my kids, Sally's like my nephew, and you grew up with him, of course. How did you guys talk about your dads and your that life? Because you guys grew up in this mobster kind of life.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I didn't really know exactly what you did until I was a little older. I'd say maybe 13, 14, around there.
How did you find out?
I don't know. I think I maybe got it out of mommy, or you spoke about it briefly over the phone with whatever could have been said. But reacting to the friends like Sal, I mean, we just, we'd laugh it off, We knew one day, I mean, obviously you come out, you weren't doing
life.
Yeah, so, yeah, you just really, it's not, you don't brush it off, but like you said, you live through the memories of previous, I grew up on the pictures we had. I mean, I used to get all the pictures that you see on Instagram. Well, most of them are still in my possession that I send over to my father to post, and you live off those, you look forward to growing up. So I had something to look forward to because my father was getting out when I was 18. So, everyone looks forward to 18, 21. Those are good days. So it's, I look forward to 18 and my father's getting out. So it was...
I remember missing your graduation. I remember that one thing, you graduated that year and I couldn't be there. And it was like, those are the times. Obviously, I missed your little league, your hockey, and everything you did. And that, I was so happy you were doing it. And you had Grandpa and you had all the people to help you. But that's what rips your heart out. You can never get them back, no matter what we do. And we're doing so much. And I'm so happy what we're doing today. But that rips your heart out because you can never get those memories. And that's why I'm so adamant about telling young people, especially when I ever hear a kid goes, oh, you helped me, I got a 2-year-old. if he fucks up, I want to fucking choke him because I know that feeling, and people out there got to know that. You're looking at my son. We are lucky to be together. We're lucky to have these times now. And, you know, it's funny because I see when he makes mistakes and I see stupid things. That he's his own man. He knows what he's doing, but I want to say, come on. Like, and I can talk to him now. It's a little bit different than, like, even when he grew up. And I often think about, like, at what age and when you were getting in trouble, you know, you were rebellious. I remember that. And was that part my fault? One, because, oh, my father's in jail. Now you think I'm a bad guy, you know. And I'm sure you used every game in the book with your mom, you know. And, hey, well, Daddy did it, or, you know, Daddy... And you didn't know how big of a criminal I was, did you?
No,
when did you get to really know that?
I would say when I was old. I mean, I had an idea, but I mean, story-wise is really what you told me, you know?
At the end.
Yeah.
I mean, there were guys I knew who I was always worried that would start saying, hey, and try to suck you into that game. Because obviously I had such a good reputation in Brooklyn. I mean, even, you remember the cops when they would tell that story?
They got me for allegedly.
Well, you did it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was a graffiti case with one of my buddies who they never caught him, but they got me, and I was 15 at the time, so they brought me over to the precinct, but they had to come to the house and get permission to arrest me. So when I got to the precinct, they had me in a cuffed to the chair, and they came in and they said, "Born in '89?" I said, "Yeah." That's your full name? I said, yeah. You know, I'm sitting there and they're talking amongst each other, and they come in and the captain comes in and they leave and he comes back, and they thought they got him on the lam on an escape because we have the same name. So they came in to check the birthday 4 or 5 times. I said, do I look like I'm 40? Like, I mean, I didn't look like this. I mean, I was 15, so you got to count. I had hair, no beard. So, but yeah, they I mean,
oh, that's funny. I mean, they knew who I was. You know, the cops knew who I was. There's a lot of incidents that happened in Brooklyn that they knew who I was. And especially the precinct, I think the 6'2".
6'2", yeah.
And they knew who I was because of where I hung out and the whole crew we were with. So they kind of knew. Even the local cops knew us because we had cops that we used to pay. And there's a whole bunch of stuff like that we had. So it's kind of funny now. You know, I now hear stories even from my son, stuff that, you know, like, oh, I remember, or even Sally says, oh, I remember because, what is his relative in jail too? Who is it?
His grandfather, well, he passed away now. But,
his grandfather was in jail. We were just talking about it. He hears the stories and he saw the pictures, and it's just like what we all have those pictures that, you know, the pictures you see on Instagram, go look at them. We're all jerk-offs, let me tell you that. We all had, you know, like we're tough guys, you know, we got these pictures behind us. The prison makes you look like a jerk-off. They put the picture right there. Like, I remember one place we had a picture of a building, like we're really in a fucking building, or next to a building, or next to a field. I mean, it looks so cheesy, and here we all acting cool and all this shit, and prison pictures and this shit. And I look back and I go, what an asshole I was. I mean, those are, you know, you did whatever little thing you could to try to feel normal. But I am so blessed that I have those pictures and that I did send them to you. And I have some at home that nobody would understand who I'm with, and gang members and, you know, Aryan brotherhoods and mafia guys and this stuff. And, you know, you didn't know who a lot of these guys were. Now I'm even telling you, and he goes, oh, that's that guy. I showed him a picture of Big Ron I talked about in the book, you know, and Ron's alive and I'm going to see him in California. I'm going to interview Ron. And it's like, oh, that's Big Ron used to talk about, or whatever. And Paulie, you know, Paulie for 30 years when I went and picked him up. And now he relating to him. So it's kind of fun that I have the pictures. And obviously pictures are just priceless because it's not like today everybody didn't have phones. And in prison, nobody had a phone. You had to pay $1 for a picture. And I was lucky to have money in prison, but you paid $1 a picture. And literally I'd go and you have to wait online. You can only do it one day a month. And a guy would come in and he's an inmate trustee. And there'd be an area to go. In the beginning, pictures, we actually even were doing pictures on the yard.
There's a few of them.
In a few and they don't do that anymore. I mean, you can't even take group pictures. I got pictures of me with, 10 guys, 12 guys, and you can't do that anymore. They don't let you do that, especially the feds. They've chopped down on a lot of that kind of stuff. They don't want grouping, and they don't want gang members doing stuff like that, and they don't want organized crime sticking together like that. We all did, and it's just the way it was in the joint. A couple of things. When you got older, I know you sell, you work with a guy named Rome and Sublime, and you work with a couple of things. You work with sneakers. You work with other stuff like that for reselling and stuff like that. What made you, did you ever want to go in my business even when you got older?
No, not particularly. I mean,
I'm glad. Trust me, I'm loving that, man.
Well, as I got older, I mean, it wasn't the same as when you were around,
Yeah, times change.
10,
absolutely.
15 years go by, and even if I wanted to get involved in it at that time, I'm 18, 19 years old, my father got out. So
right, and I wouldn't let that happen, that's for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't
wasn't going to happen.
It wasn't like there were still guys around, or he was still contacting people, or if he went back to the life, it would have been different. I mean, then it would have been no question, really, at that point. But
and I'm so glad I didn't, and he knows that, how proud I am of him today, and how I know I could have got in, and I'm so glad I never got back into the business, because I had such a good reputation. I never went away. I went away for not telling, but that life is dead. I mean, he'll tell you, and people tell you. Don't get me wrong, they're out there, and everybody's out there, but I love working hard, whatever I'm going to do, whether it's now YouTube we're trying to do. There's so many more stories. I tell stories when he's with friends, and they all say, oh, I didn't hear that one, or stuff like that. I was with a friend yesterday, and Billy goes, I know you 12 years. I didn't know that story. We were telling stories last night, and it was kind of fun. And we were talking about my son, me coming here today and filming this tape and stuff like that, doing the a payday video and stuff. And Larry's going to start doing more and stuff, and because he knows me so well, he knows when I'm mad and not, and he knows how to even push my buttons, and I know that, and I get a kick out of it. What did your mom ever like? When I was getting out or about to get out, what was your mom like?
She was excited, for me more so, to be able to connect with you. I mean, we spoke over, like I said, we spoke over the phone really for years. I mean, 12 years, But yeah, mom was happy. I came down to see you when you came down.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to pick you up, but you didn't want anyone picking you up.
Yeah, so, and that was a mistake, as we all know today. But it is what it is. But like he said, you're so nervous, you're so free. Freedom is not what people think. Freedom is not, when ex-cons get out of prison, and I'm going to do a whole series on this, it's not about just get them a job and get them a house over their head. It's mental. You can't function mentally. You are totally a vegetable. And there's no question I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't communicate the right way. You don't know anything about technology. Zip. I couldn't turn on a computer. Literally. A laptop I bought, and I did not know how to turn it on. Here I am reading directions. And we want to keep entertaining people as well as educating you guys on stuff like me losing my son. And I know there's always stuff that was on your mind. Is there anything you want to tell the audience and stuff like that, like all the fans that were out there?
I mean, if you're in the position the same way I was, you just got to really have the good overweigh the bad. There's a reason why things in life happen, whether it's good or bad. Me, for instance, I have the good because my father didn't do 20, 30, 40 years and come out where, and the entire world is different. You miss some things, but you adapt to them when you get out. And if you don't adapt, you're going to get eaten up, and at a point where you have no choice. You got to adapt.
You're going to go crazy, or you don't.
So you just got to really stick through it. And
what advice do you give young people your age and younger? A lot of 18, 13, 15, 16. We got a lot of fans that are a lot of different ages, and they have an uncle or a mom or a dad or away. What's the one thing you could tell somebody? That's a good question. What's the one thing you could tell them to give them that hope or encouragement or knowledge to what to do?
You should have to sit and understand it. You have to hear it from your relative on not so much why he did what he did or she did what she did, but you have to be there for them like they're there for you. I mean, they're in a position
That's
where...
a great one, yeah.
Yeah, they're in a position where they have nothing and everything's outside. And you have a position where you have everything and all you have is that person inside. You know, so inside meaning in prison, you know. So you have to help them to get through their days as much as they're helping you to get through yours. You know, it's
You know, what he said is so right. I never thought about it just the way he said. You know, just getting a letter from him would be the biggest thing in the world. I mean, you know, it was like that mail call and you'd see that return address. And they don't write, young people don't write like we did or something. Like we didn't have time. But he did occasionally. And knowing I was going to call him, that was the best. You remember when I would make sure that call was coming? I don't know how your mom used to tell you, Dad's calling tonight or whatever.
Well, you see the caller ID. It used to come up. I think it came up restricted or...
and then you have to hit 5?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Press 7 to decline or...
Hit 5 and hit 7 to decline.
Yeah.
And boy, if you hit 7, we're done.
To block future prepaid calls from this person, dial 9 now.
And they tell you if this call is from a federal institution, do you want to accept this call? Imagine the feeling if somebody doesn't say yes. I mean, that could rip a man's heart. We used to say, I watched a man kill another man right when he got off the phone and why he did that. And I used to tell young kids coming in, don't ever fuck with a man when he's on the phone because you don't know what's going on. This one young man was in the prison. He's on the phone. He calls home and he finds out that his wife killed their 2 kids and killed herself. And some guy got off the phone. You know, the guy hung up. He was in shock. Some guy is fucking with him. Your wife fucking around. Said something like that. This guy killed that guy. And obviously he went nuts and he just lost it. And understandable, but obviously at that point, who cares? And he didn't care. And I used to tell young people in prison that young kids coming in, they want to always joke around. They want to say, you're in an environment to fuck around. Because somebody can snap in 2 seconds and you're done. And things can get out of hand really quick. And when they get out of hand in prison, it's not like, oh, you know, fuck you, let's go have a fight. You get killed. People get stabbed. People get murders planned. And it's an environment like you're living in a world, but it's in this little box. So there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. I don't care if it's the fucking hole. There's nowhere to go. I watch guys try to run to the hole and get killed in the hole. And so there's so many things and gangs and connections and those favors and drugs. So what my son is saying is gotta think like that. And his connection to me helped me. And I'm worried about him all the time. I can't do anything about it though. That's the one thing people ask me would drive me crazy. And I say this because of abuse, and I was abused when I was a kid. If anybody did anything to my fucking kids when I was in, I would have fucking probably lost it, went crazy. And if I got out, there was no, like a sexual abuse of my kids or something like that. I always used to think that was my biggest fear. I was never worried. I knew my son and my daughter were being raised by good people and nothing was going to happen to them. Like, you know, they had a roof over their head, they're going to eat and that kind of stuff. But that was the one thing that I always worried about. And thank God, obviously, it didn't happen to my son or daughter. And I'm blessed for that. So I do agree with that. Anything else you want to, before we wrap up, you want to say that to everybody?
No, just keep supporting, really. We appreciate it. Like my father said, I mean, I filter through some messages too. I pass everything along. I mean, there is a lot of stuff. And I mean, I go through things every day. So everyone's messages are being read and we do appreciate the support. I mean, it's overwhelming. We didn't think it was going to take off like this, and we just, well, not we really at first, but my father started just to try and get a point across and try to help kids that he's been doing this since he got out, 12, 13 years now. And
yeah, the 12 going on 13. This August will be 13 years. Yeah. Wow. And I want to reiterate what he just said. We appreciate it. Trust me, we appreciate it. We love the support. You know, like I said, you can email us or what you're going to do. We love it. If you know somebody like that, try to send them to this video because you're talking to a young man whose dad was away and he survived. And his greatest years of his life from 6 to 18, I was away. And he had to deal with that. So I want you to know there is support, and he did get through it, and he become a great guy. And again, we all make our mistakes, even him. Everybody makes our mistakes. But you can change and will change, you know. Check us out on the Instagram. Check us out on, we post pictures on the Instagram. Larry's helped me with that, and we're posting great pictures and all that stuff. And we have great merchandise that's coming out every day. Check it out. He likes when I say that all the time. Check it out on the links below, you know. We're on Spotify. We're going to do that. I'm actually contemplating, I'm going to put something up in the community about a podcast, like an actual Joe Rogan podcast. Do a podcast where I do interviews and set it up a little different or whatever. Any kind of suggestions and ideas, please send them our way. Criticism, constructive or great, we don't mind it.
Any press is good press.
Any press is good press. He's smart. He's a good guy. Thanks for the support. You know about the donation links. You know about all that kind of stuff. Thanks again, everybody. We really appreciate it. Stay safe. Make good choices. And keep connected, man. Our videos are going to keep coming. Thanks again. We love you.